you never want to be the limiting factor of your growth. Like the limiting factor of your growth might be, I can't find good drivers. The limiting factor might be, I'm having a hard time locking down these contracts. The limiting factor for you growing should never be, I can no longer keep track of things, or, I'm having a lot of trouble keeping everything organized.
Welcome to the Freight People podcast. I'm Ava Barnes, your host, and this is our very first ever episode. We wanted to start off by giving a bit of a foundation of who your hosts are. So today's episode will be a little different, answering the question, why would you need a TMS? What does a good TMS do? How can you differentiate one TMS from the other? What should you be looking for if you're shopping for one? And how can they help you grow and scale as a trucking company? And after this sort of getting to know you episode, we're going to move more into talking to trucking company owners and really getting at how did you become successful? Like, share your tips and tricks with the rest of us. Let's come together, have a good time, and learn something. So for this very first podcast, I'm super excited because we get to talk to two of my very favorite people on the Alvys team, Jordan and Lucas. They both have huge backgrounds in trucking. They've been working in trucking probably their entire career. So without further ado, I'll let them introduce themselves. Jordan, could you go first, please?
Thanks, Ava. Yes, I'm Jordan Kidd, now working on the product team at Alvys. But prior to that, I spent over a decade in the trucking and brokerage side of the transportation and logistics industry, and helped grow a carrier from 1 to over 150 trucks and a brokerage, of significant size as well. And over the years, was really blessed to have the opportunity to sit in just about every seat in a trucking company, from the maintenance shop to, safety to recruiting to dispatch operations, sales, brokerage, and on down the line. Also have my CDL and keep that current to stay in touch with the world of trucking. And just in the last couple of years, moved over to the technology side, kind of aligning my passions and gifts in technology with the transportation industry to try to move the technology experience for trucking and brokerage forward into the modern world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we do all the time over here at Alvys. Lucas, can you give us some of your background?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. My name is Lucas Allasia. I've been in the transportation industry also for almost 10 years now as well. Started out actually working at a tire shop, if you can believe it, a commercial tire shop. And from there moved to dispatch. And then from dispatch, started helping out with payroll, started helping out with safety, and eventually ended up going into more of a director role as the years went by. I helped, trucking companies more than double their earnings, scale their fleets, and I'm here working with Alvys now to continue that process.
I love it so much. What I love about these two guys, and I ask them questions all the time, is that they have sat in almost every seat that exists at a trucking company. So they literally are our customer, were our customer, have used all the TMSs. As for me, I'm Ava Barnes. I've been with Alvys for 3 years now, and I love it here. I absolutely love this space because I love the people. It's so relationship driven. It's down to earth. It aligns with who I am. So I'm really excited to be the VP of brand and community at Alvys and get to hear more of the trucking stories through this podcast. So our very first question, we always want to give the value to you, the listeners, the people who are in trucking, the freight people. So this first question, very simple. First of all, what's a TMS? Most of you guys probably know, but we'll start there. And what should a TMS actually be doing for trucking companies? Jordan, could you start us off?
Sure. So TMS is a very broad term, means transportation management system, and that can actually mean a lot of different things. If you're a shipper, you might use a TMS. If you're a broker, you use a TMS. If you're a carrier, you use a TMS. And a TMS may or may not have all of those, support for all of those types of operations. But at Alvys, we're a TMS that supports both carriers and brokers, and especially supports those that have both assets and brokerage, which is a rare find in the industry. So, a TMS is a critical piece of operations software that manages your entire end-to-end operations, in the logistics world. So another way to think of TMS is like an ERP for logistics. Okay, so like there's a lot of ERPs that are very common. Think of an ERP for logistics. That's what a TMS is at its core. So what should it actually do for you? It should connect to all your systems, and the TMS should be the source of truth for the majority of your operations in a trucking or a brokerage company.
So choosing the right TMS, right? This can be a part-time job for some of these companies. It's like allocating somebody to just evaluate all of the TMS options over there. I know we've got friends who are consultants. That's all they do. They're just trying to keep on top of all the tech so that you can pick the very best tool that's available. What would you guys say when trucking company leaders are evaluating a TMS platform? What should they be looking for? What questions should they be asking?
Yeah, so one of the first things is think about where you're going, not where you're at. And if you're at 15 trucks and wanting to grow to 50, or if you're at 150 trucks and you're wanting to grow to 250, or if you're at 500 trucks wanting to grow to 1,000, think about where you're going and evaluate software and solutions based on where you want to be, right? And far too often people evaluate, well, today this is how we do it. Like today we have a spreadsheet that does X, Y, and Z. So if your system does X, Y, and Z, that might be a good fit. I would say don't look at your current solution, look at your future potential, right? So maybe you're a pure brokerage today, but you want to add some assets and start to be an asset-based brokerage, right? So you want to be looking at a TMS that can support both asset and brokerage operations. Maybe you're a pure play carrier today and you don't have any brokerage at all, but you have a really strong contract customer that's starting to give you more freight than you can handle, and you can't buy trucks and hire drivers fast enough. All right, so maybe brokerage is in our future, right? And I need to find a TMS that will allow me to scale up into brokerage. And I don't want to have to start setting up a whole new software stack just to handle some overflow freight. So that's one particular case that we solve very, very well is to allow growth on asset and brokerage operations together. And that's one thing that's hard to find in this industry. And I think it's worth mentioning that it's something that's often overlooked. Or maybe a consultant told you that there's no such thing as a TMS that does it all. Or maybe some provider was trying to tell you that you're going to have to set up API connections between your carrier side and your brokerage side. We believe that should not be the case. You should be able to operate under a single pane of glass for end-to-end logistics operations, and that's how we approach it.
Yeah, and that's something I hear a lot of our customers talk about too, is they really like that Alvys in particular is very forward thinking, that we are constantly innovating. Like we're releasing features all the time for our customers. They bought the platform, onboarded, are using it, are very happy, and then we give them a bunch of new features, no extra charge. That's what we're doing all the time. So if you're a forward thinking trucking company that wants to grow, find another forward thinking technology partner that's going to grow with you. It's going to continue to iterate as all this technology changes. Some things that I would look for is native built-in EDI. So you're cutting out the middleman so you can get better scorecards with your shippers, keep those EDI transactions moving a lot more smoothly. I would say open API, so you have opportunity to customize something on typically the more modern platforms will have. And then lots of integrations already set up. So a lot of the tech that you're already using already integrated into the platform that you're going to use. So that'll be quicker and easier too. And I would say AI, there's so much talk about AI right now. It's a big buzzword. I know some people overuse it, but it can be pretty transformational. So how would you guys say AI is influencing freight tech, and how should people be looking for AI to act in their TMS system?
So with AI, it's still a very new field. There's a lot of things going on. It's going to take a little bit for it to really, I think, cement a place for itself. And I think this is a very transformational time in trucking, like you said, where, you know, there'll be a group of people that take advantage of it and a group of people that don't interact with it. And in cases like this, most of the times you at least want to look into being in the group that takes advantage of it. With Alvys, the approach that we are taking to AI, and Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not in the product team, but we are looking for AI solutions that just save time. For example, we have an automated rate confirmation reader that we are also planning to expand to other types of documents, where instead of typing load information by hand, you grab the rate confirmation file, you drop it into the system, and it'll prepare all the load information for you. And Jordan, I'm sure you can expand on this topic, so I'm gonna give the floor to you.
Sure. Yeah. So there's a lot of there's rapid advancement happening in the world of AI. So things that were true 6 months ago are no longer true, and things that weren't possible a year ago are now possible, and so forth. So at Alvys, we're being very thoughtful about AI. But we're also aware that since we are that central source of truth for your operations, we're careful not to introduce experimental features that are going to compromise your data and your operations and things like that. So I think the approach is to find a team that is forward thinking, that is on the cutting edge, maybe not the bleeding edge. AI applications are very they're very promising for the future. I think the entire world of logistics and freight tech in general has a long way to go to really implement AI solutions end to end. From shippers to carriers and everything in between. And we have absolutely made some progress in this area, and we'll continue to do so. I would say, just from the point of selecting the right TMS, to your former question, Ava, make sure that you're partnered with a team and that is capable of building this type of technology. So many TMSs, not to bash anyone in any way, but just as a call out for having been in this space, and I've evaluated dozens and dozens and dozens of TMSs over the last decade plus. There are so many TMSs that were created 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's a small group of 3 developers keeping the lights on, and that's not going to scale into the future, right? That type of a platform is not going to be able to pivot and adopt and integrate and leverage the new technologies that are coming out. So definitely find a team that you can believe in, especially that the product and engineering teams that are strong. Many providers focus on sales and support and upselling. Definitely find someone who's not going to nickel and dime you and all of those types of things. Feel like I'm preaching to the choir at this point. Everyone that's looked for TMSs knows all of those things. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things coming in the world of AI.
Yeah. And I know at Alvys, in particular, this is at the forefront of our mind. We've already got quite a few features that are actively using AI, and the roadmap is incredible. The roadmap is going to change the game. And I don't want to give anything away. I get in trouble for that, but some very exciting things we're building. And I'll wrap this up with one last question, and that is, what would you guys say makes Alvys different than some of the other TMSs that you've had experience with? And as sort of a side note, what made you want to work for Alvys in the first place, considering all of your experience and all the companies you've worked with before and could have worked with?
So in terms of, starting out, what makes Alvis different? Um, I was an Alvis customer before joining the team, and I will say it's night and day the interactions that you can have with the team. You can tell that this is, even before joining, I could tell that this was a group of professionals, of people who are experienced, informed professionals of the industry, who are actively trying to do something that nobody has done before, understanding all of the, responsibility and all of the weight that comes with that. Uh, you know, all the way down from the CEO, I think almost everybody in the team has been in logistics. People have sat behind the screen, have had the struggles of, the spreadsheet or the TMS that hasn't been updated in 20 years or, all of that. And that alone already kind of made a huge difference for me. But then actually getting in and using the system, I always tell this story. When I was in my director role, I used to be in charge. We had a factoring company. I used to be in charge of preparing, the factoring uploads, which included, getting the documents in place, making the invoices, putting everything together, uploading it to the factoring company, and then making sure the batch went through correctly and documenting everything. That was a 2-day process. When I started using Alvis, it became a 1-day process. So I got a day of the week back to do other things. That was huge for me at the time. I could not think of any other TMS that could have done that for me. And I may have not tried as many as Jordan, but I've definitely tried quite a few myself. It's if you've ever had an experience where you're trying to do something that you know a lot about and you come across like some tool or some process that was clearly made by a person who had just as much, if not more expertise than you on that. And like, it just clicks. It makes sense. You're like, oh man, yeah, these guys know what they're talking about. That's how I felt when I started using Alvys. Every single thing that I needed to do was already in there, or it was planned to be there very soon. And this was, when Alvys had just come out to the market. It's been 3 years since then, 4 years maybe already. So in terms of team, in terms of, how the system feels, how it operates, even the amount of clicks that it takes to get anything done, it just blew everything else out of the water that I ever tried to up until that point. And that is the reason why I ended up deciding I wanted to join the team as well. Is it impressed me that much.
I love that. And I feel your sincerity when you share that, Lucas. And that's one thing that differentiates us too, is that a lot of the TMSs out there were not built by freight people. They were not built by trucking company owners. And that is our origin story. Our founder, Nick Darman, was running his own trucking company, was scaling it, and could not find a TMS that did what he wanted it to do. So that was back in probably 2015 that he started this search and was super frustrated with everything he tried to use in the TMS space. And so he began building his own TMS. And then his friends were like, wait, your TMS does what? Like, it's so obvious. Why doesn't mine do that? And then you realize he needed to pivot and make this a software company that could help lots of trucking companies, and so his experience has been the backbone of a lot of our workflows. He's such a visionary and knows how to make things a lot simpler.
Yeah, and I would echo all of that for sure. What makes Alvis different? There's so many things, and I think that could be a whole podcast in and of itself. Uh, but just a couple here. First of all, is we're modern SaaS software, and so much of the TMS space is legacy, enterprise, on-premise, server-based, self-hosted, vulnerable, et cetera, et cetera. And, I used to go to cybersecurity conferences where carriers with 5,000 trucks were hit with a cybersecurity attack and taken offline for 14 days and had to pay $60 million in ransom. That's real. Like, that's what's happening, right? That's just reality, right? And if you're in that situation, it's not great. And so it's a good time to think about, how could I not be in this situation? And one would be to find a cloud, SaaS software that's not, in the basement in a closet on a server that's been running for 15 years, and probably doesn't have the best security practices implemented and so forth. And so that's, security is one thing. Scalability, absolutely, is a huge thing that we deliver at Alvys, just based on being a SaaS, enterprise grade SaaS software. We serve 5 to 10 truck carriers, and we serve 500 to 1,000 truck carriers and beyond. And that's not true of most other legacy TMS systems, and it's only possible in the SaaS model that we operate in. So that's just one or two, and like I say, I could go on for a long time about this. And I don't work in sales. I work in product, and this comes from a place of passion, not pleasantries or just sales pitches. This is just like I lived in this world for a long time. I used 3 or 4 different TMSs myself. I had issues with all of them. I worked with all of their product teams to resolve many of those issues. To try to resolve many of those issues, had limited success with kind of pushing those things forward. And really, when I met the founders of Alvys, I really saw their vision, and it was what I had been looking for a decade. And I hadn't found anyone else that really just got it. That factor, like, it's, hey, he gets it. And that's what I found, and that's why I joined, and that's why, I wake up every day really thinking about the years that I spent struggling to scale and to grow and to actually run operations smoothly, so that you could actually get a full night's sleep and you could actually deliver for those customers that you promised you would deliver for, without your system breaking down. And that's what we do here.
Yeah. Jordan, you're one of the most trustworthy people I know. That means so much coming from you. And I've heard a similar story told by our founder, that he really has a heart for carriers because they're also kind of underserved. And I know we serve brokers as well. We serve hybrid companies. We serve shippers with private fleets. But carriers are really the backbone of the TMS of Alvys, and they're often neglected in the tech space. So, it makes me feel good too, knowing that we're making a product that is absolutely making their business run smoother, making them sleep better at night. So thanks everybody for kicking off the very first Freight People podcast with us. We're so excited, and hit the subscribe button. We've got a lot more coming your way.